Hello everyone, my name is Sulaimon Afolabi. I'm here to take you through a tutorial titled Practical Guide for Preparing Health and Demographic Surveillance System Data for Analysis using stata. By the way, stata is a statistical software for data management and analysis. You can actually visit stata website, the one that is currently showing on your screen, for a demo version of the software for practice at no cost at all to you. So what are the learning objectives of this particular tutorial? The first on the list is to have an understanding, a basic understanding of health and demographic surveillance system. The number two is to learn certain commands in stata. The third one is to learn how to convert a data set from wide to long format. The number four is to learn how to combine or merge two or more data sets. And more importantly, to check data set for inconsistency, prepare for event history and other kind of analysis, and eventually to perform inventory history analysis and other analysis that you may be interested in. So we are going to start with HDSS. HDSS, the acronym stands for Health and Demographic Surveillance System. HDSS is a system often established for the collection of health and demographic data on people living in a geographically delimited area. Most HDSS sites operate a reference data model, which is a database designed with the capacity to store temporal, and not only temporal but relational information or data. HDSS sites can be found mostly in sub-Saharan African countries. They are also available in Asian countries and other developing countries of the world. So this map showing on your screen reveal the countries where HDSS can be found across the globe. You can actually pause this video in order to study the names. International network of field sites with continuous demographic evaluation of population and their health, also known as indepth or indepth-network, is an umbrella body of the HDSS sites. On your screen, you can see some of the projects that indepth is involved in, and then you can actually visit the website HDSS data structure. It comprises of what we call an object. An object in a typical HDSS site database is an individual table. A typical individual table, we have an identifier, ID. We have information on the date of birth of an individual. We have information on sex and other basic status. One is the events. And the event comprises of birth, death, immigration, and out-migration. Another one is episode. Episode refers to residencies. It can also be called membership or social group, and also union. The final one is observation. Observation can be label status, can be access status, can be food security status, can be educational status. The residence episode. Imagine this diagram as a population under surveillance. A typical HDSS site or resident episode will start by enumerating or counting all the people living in this particular geographically delimited area through a registration system. This is what actually happened during national census. I'm sure at one time or the other, you might have participated in a census where at least one person with a form or questionnaire will come to you to collect information about you and other members of your household. I want you to know that two things can happen to a population under surveillance. That population in question can either grow or shrink. Growth is mainly due to people entering the area. And two events that are often involved are death and immigration. And at the same time, a population can shrink. And the shrinking is mainly due to people exiting that population in question. And the two exit routes are involved. Talking about death and talking about out migration. At any point in time, you will find people found in the residence episode table. Those people are often referred to as being current. So this is to demonstrate the resident episode that I just finished talking about now. Let us take the dotted line that is showing on the screen as a point in time when the baseline enumeration of these three people were conducted or took place. So these are the residents. This is just an example. In a normal population, you can find thousands of people depending on how large that area. So that is date 1. Now let's proceed to another date, which is date 2. Okay, from the information that can be deduced from this diagram, we can see that these three residents have successfully proceeded to day 2 without experiencing any terminating event. And another interesting thing has happened at the second date. That is two people joining the population via birth and via immigration. Let's proceed to day 3. As far as day 3 is concerned, four people in the population successfully proceeded to day 3. And one of the original residents, we lost that person due to out migration. Now, date 4. So we also experience another terminating event affecting two people. The person that moved in originally, the first individual, and also the person that came in via immigration experienced death. So to the current date, so at the end, talking about the current date, we can see that it's only 2 individuals that are left in this population under surveillance. Now let's look at the pattern of dates. We can see the first person there started at date 1, ended at date 4. The second person started at date 2, ended at the current date. the third person date 1 to date 3, the fourth person date 2 to date 4, and the last person date 1 to current date. So one interesting thing that makes residence episode to be unique and also to be a bit difficult for those working with HDSS data to work on is this residence episode, because we don't have data split into year, not on an annual basis, but rather this kind of plain format. And that's one of the essence of this tutorial, to see how we can convert this, how we can transform this data into something that everyone can easily work on. Now, in real time, this is a typical table that will come across as far as the residence episode data is concerned. This data is in a wide format. So in this table, we can see hypothetical information of an individual with ID FMCPT. And this individual in question is male, date of birth 1977, September 22nd. We can also see the start date and the end date, and also the start event, the initiating event type, and the terminating event type. So we are going to do the conversion of this data in question from a wide format to a long format. You can see in the second table that the start and the end dates have been collapsed to form event date. The same thing with the initiating and the terminating event time. Those two columns have been collapsed as well. And also the sex and the ID, they have been repeated. So this is what we are talking about when we say from wide format to long format. And when I was talking about the data structure, I made mention of an object and say individual table contains sex. I want you to note that when you are dealing with a HDSS database, you are dealing with data in tables that are relational. They are related to one another. So this particular column of variable sex actually belongs to the individual, but by joining them together, you can find it in the male. So this table, in a way, has been combined. So as we proceed, I will show you how we can actually combine and merge different 2 or more tables. Then for us to be able to perform our analysis, we learn how to go from long format to splitting the data annually. Now let's go to the building codes for this tutorial. So we are going to start by clearing all open records. So I've done this tutorial in such a way that even if you have never used data before, and you are conversant with other programs talking about SAS, talking about R, talking about HDSS, and maybe Python, you'll be able to adapt. So we start by clearing all the open records. We set the memory size. One thing I've noticed that in the latest version of Stata, you don't actually need to set the memory. Stata understands the fact that the data is growing, then it will automatically allocate memory size. We are going to create a working directory. This is where all our data will be going to. So whatever you save, the table, the chart, then we're going to load the data sets, get summary information on the loaded data sets, label the variables, all the variables of interest, we code relevant variables. So as you click on Starter, this is a window that will appear on your screen. So the pane on the left hand side shows the review pane. The highlighted variable pane will show information on all the variables that you have loaded. And there's also an interesting part which will show all the variable properties, and there's also the command pane. But we are not going to be using the command pane as such. So instead of the command pane, we'll be using the do file page. It's actually a window on its own. This is where we'll be typing all our command. We just click on that run button to run command each step of the way. So these are organizations that's affiliated to. So this is the end of the introductory part. Now it's time to get our hands dirty as we go to the practical aspects.